The boys are back. Season 4 has begun on Amazon's insanely popular show. Let's break down the first 3 episodes of Season 4.
What is up, movie friends? Welcome back to Raiders of the Lost podcast, the ultimate film and TV podcast. And today we are doing a breakdown of the 3-episode premiere of The Boys Season 4, Amazon Prime's hugely popular superhero show, which is one of our favorite superhero properties going on right now. However, I will say this is the weakest season of the show so far.
Whoa!
I am extremely unhappy with what they're doing with these characters and with the storylines, and I think that ultimately this should have been the final season. I'm going to get into all of my critiques of the show.
Controversial opinions!
There are some good things in the show.
Yeah.
And I love the characters. There are some crazy what the fuck moments, which is what you want. But overall, I think this season has been slow, uninteresting, and kind of weird and out of place for what's usually happened on the show, which has always been sharply written, really smart and intelligent, nuanced and subtle. And now we're getting the complete opposite of all of that.
I'm trying to remember, do they usually go weekly episodic, or do they usually dump it all at once?
They've tried both ways in the past of doing weekly and then binging. So the last season, I believe it was weekly, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think it was weekly. You know, we're season 4 of this show, and I think that just because it might be a bit of a slow start for the season doesn't mean it's not going to get wrapped up with a fucking beautiful bow. I think that potential's still there. I think maybe they're in a sort of a Game of Thrones situation. Maybe they're kind of prolonging something that is going to happen at the end. Obviously, we found out recently from the showrunner that season 5 will be the end of The Boys. It'll end Homelander and Butcher's story. Who knows how that's going to happen, whether they're going to kill each other, one of them is going to kill the other, or maybe Ryan steps up and kills his father. I think those are like the 3 scenarios that we're looking at. Maybe Starlight is involved somehow, because I think Starlight's a character who, I think, for me, this season has been in an odd position. She's sort of been kind of a backseat driver.
Sideline.
I've been waiting for Starlight to do something this season. I think it's still too early to say that they're not doing anything with her character. I think she'll have a bigger second half of the season. That's my assumption. They're sort of building it up. But I understand. I agree and understand your points for some things about the show, about the season. I think Starlight in particular, for me specifically, is like, what's she been doing? She hasn't been doing shit.
I hardly even got into my points, too. Yeah. Just wait. But I agree. Starlight's been sidelined.
Yeah, but it is early. We're 3 episodes in. We're on season 4 of the show. I think they're trying to set up a lot of character storylines and arcs that they're going to connect by mid-season, by the end of the season. Clearly, there's some new ones going on, specifically with Frenchie. Kimiko has that new storyline with the past trauma of her trying to find the people who had her in prison for so many years. And so and then Huey now, he's got his dad who's in the hospital with a stroke, and his mom's coming to kind of fill in that family character for him. Everyone's got their own sort of dramatic storyline. Same thing with Mother's Milk and trying to find the former stepfather.
Yeah.
So everyone's got these dramatic beats that I think they're trying to push all together. I think that's why the season's starting so slow, is giving every character their own big fleshed out backstory plot, which I understand you want to do for your characters, which works probably better in a book or a graphic novel, but maybe for entertainment purposes for TV, it slows it down quite a bit.
I'll tell you why it's not working. So the only storyline, individual character-wise, that's really working, it's just 2. It's just Butchers and then MMs, because those were storylines and conflicts and arcs that were built up in the previous seasons. MM's been dealing with his kid's stepdad for the entire show. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then Butcher's obviously been dealing with his ex-wife and then in Homelander and Ryan for several seasons.
What about Homelander, though?
And then Homelander as well, yeah. The thing is, with Huey, Starlight, and Frenchie and Kimiko, these are all new storylines that had nothing to do with anything we'd seen before. And for me, that's been a big issue of it's really the writing of the show has, I think, is the weakest part of the show right now, because it's kind of like they threw in random plots for the 4 characters because they didn't really have anything else to do with the main overarching plot so far this season. So, for example, I mean, Huey's dad having a stroke out of nowhere, I was like, this kind of feels like soap opera-y. Like, this just happened because I think they didn't have anything for Huey to do in terms of the Homelander Butcher storyline or anything to add. So they gave him like a subplot on his own. And it didn't really have anything to do with what came before it. You know what I mean? And then also with Frenchie, the new relationship, no buildup of that at all. It's just like a 2-line saying, "Oh, I met this guy at NA," and they started dating, and I was like, this has not been introduced at all. And then also Kimiko randomly having PTSD. Why hasn't she had PTSD before? Because we all know her past. Like, why did this suddenly crop up in this season? She saw that poster. I get it, but like, it seems like they created a bunch of plots for the characters individually that never saw the light of day. It had absolutely no buildup before this season, and so it's kind of like, I think they put themselves into a hole writing-wise. Like I said, this should have been the final season because you have Butcher and Homelander. They're obviously, and Victoria. They're the big plot. Those three, and then the other characters didn't really have much to do, and so I think the writers were just like, "What can we do with Huey? Oh, what if his dad has a stroke?" And then what about Kimiko? What if she's suffering from PTSD out of nowhere? And so I think that the writing, they should have, I really do think this should have been the final season. It would have made the stakes really intense, and I think it would have been way more exciting because it's kind of lost its entertainment value, in my opinion.
For me, I think some of it I agree with. You know, stuff with Huey, the Huey thing, I was like, oh, his dad has a stroke. It's terrible. It's a great character, but it's just too cliche. Yeah. It happens too often in TV. I mean, if you're familiar with like a soap opera or many TV shows, the stroke thing is just, it's pretty easy.
Yeah.
Introducing the mom from the past is also interesting though, because we have a new character and
Rosemary DeWitt's great.
Yeah, she's a great actress and it's a great performance so far. And I agree, it's sort of, it probably was like, what do we do with Huey?
Yeah.
What are we going to do with him? He's not super powered. He's not with Butcher. Butcher's left the boys. He's been kicked out of the boys. has his job. So Butcher's sort of on his own, sort of his own mercenary, you could say, trying to change things up. And with Butcher, I think Butcher is still maybe the strongest character after Homelander. I wish we got a little more Butcher though. But I feel like episode 3 though, Episode 3 has got me hooked back into the show. First episode I thought was pretty slow. The first episode of season 4 I was a bit underwhelmed.
Yeah. For a premiere.
Episode I was a bit underwhelmed. Episode 2 is kind of the same, but episode 3 reeled me back in. There's still some head-scratching moments here and there, but it still has all the elements of what I love about The Boys, but I think episode 3 had that. You know, we had the great gore, and I thought the comedy was really there on episode 3. That was sort of missing in episode 1 and 2. That the jokes weren't quite landing. Episode 3, the jokes were landing. We had the absurdism. The ice skating rink scene was excellent, bringing back the awesome gore and the ludicrous situations of people getting killed, Homelander killing people by accidents. So I think episode 3 showed me that we're about to get back into the swing of things of what we expected from, obviously, season 2, which was excellent, and season 3, which was also really good. I am curious, where the fuck is Maeve, though? I want Maeve back.
Also, well, so here's the thing. Maeve, obviously now being human and non-powered, I think that they wrote her out of the show. And then the thing with Huey is he's always been the audience surrogate for being the non-powered member with Butcher, but like he's like always been like us. You know what I mean? The way into this world. And so him not operating at all really is just doesn't feel quite right, and him just doing a completely his own thing. I understand the Maeve thing. I think the writers were like, we're getting way too many characters. And then her ending was great.
I disagree. I did not love her ending. I didn't want her to survive. I think her sacrificing herself, she should have died. That was the
I agree.
Great arc of that character. It would have been a great arc if all of her life she's finally standing up against Homelander.
Yeah.
Sacrifices herself. Now she's just sacrificed her powers, which is probably just as tough as a death for her character. But I think she should have died. That's the problem with the show right now, I think, is they're not killing main characters. They should have killed Maeve. She should have died. That would have been a great character ending. And now they've sort of replaced Maeve with A-Train. So Maeve's arc of, I'm standing up to Homelander.
Yes.
Now A-Train is that character.
Yeah, you're right. I think that A-Train, so I think that Maeve's death would have been more powerful. Although I will correct you, she was happy to not have her powers anymore.
Gotcha.
It relieved her, remember. I also think maybe A-Train should have died last season as well. It would have had more impact. And now he's becoming the inside man.
I like this part of A-Train. I think this is the most interesting A-Train's been.
Yeah, I agree.
Because he's finally trying to feel remorse, you could say, for everything terrible he's done, everything he's seen, everything he's been a part of. And, he's trying to, I think, stay in the 7 out of survival and not to get killed by Homelander, but also at the same time, I think, is eventually going to flip on Homelander, which he already has started to do completely, but he's not there yet. But I think this is the most interesting and relatable that A-Train's been. I really like his character this season.
And one of the best seasons of the whole show is in episode 1 where Homelander almost forces the Deep to blow A-Train to really show how each one of the members of the 7 are really just there for their own survival and trying not to step on Homelander's shoes in any way, walking on eggshells. I thought that was a really great scene.
He's like, I wasn't really going to do it,
man. The Deep's comedy still works, and the Deep is still a highlight of the show. And it's just, Chase Crawford's bringing much needed humor to the show because it does have a very somber tone this season, but the Deep has been a highlight, and then being able to see the relationship he has with Ambrosius, played by Tilda Swinton, also one of my favorite parts of this season. Tilda Swinton playing the octopus is just, obviously that's who you're going to go with. It's just fantastic, and I love the scenes they have together. It's really funny, but also like very endearing, but like what the fuck? It's like scenes like that which really make the show flourish. But otherwise, we have been getting not too many of those kinds of fun, entertaining scenes.
I love when the Deep, whenever he goes on stage, he's just flexing his muscles. Yeah. It's so goddamn funny. One of my favorite parts of the season, though, was when Ryan is now becoming a hero. His father's forcing him to become a hero. And we see and learn how staged they are. They're just like doing movie scenes. You have a stunt coordinator who's got a stunt team, and they're going through all the actions and rehearsals with all the boxes in an actual stunt facility. It's really cool to see sort of a filmmaking breakdown of what it's like to do the actual saves, which are never really saves for superheroes in person, and also learning that they don't really save anyone. They never really save people. They're just entertainers, because then we have this great other plot that I think is getting really interesting, where Victoria is a vice presidential candidate for the guy running for president, and he knows that she is a soup, and he's worried that obviously we have to take her down somehow, because if I win the presidency, she's just going to pop my head, and then we'll have a superhero as the president of the United States. That's why he's fucking with her at the end with that new clause on the superhero amendment that we have to get all soups that can't get any governmental jobs. Don't you agree? And he's looking right at her because he knows she is one.
Yeah. I think the season started out with a good opening scene of the boys doing that mission of trying to get into Victoria Newman's room and to plant some kind of the poison or the acid inside of her.
Oh, the fundraiser, yeah.
In the fundraiser. And then Kimiko and Frenchie going into her hotel room with the Secret Service, which are double agents for them. And then Victoria's daughter showing up and going full Medusa on them, which was really exciting and shocking. I thought that was an excellent scene of gore and action and surprise and shock value that we come to expect from this show, and still is a highlight of the entire season so far. It was really fantastic how her snakes would just like eat through flesh and tear an arm apart, and it was also very funny when Kimiko had a little tiny hand.
Very Deadpool.
Yeah, very Deadpool. And then when Starlight came to try to save her, but she missed her because she's still figuring out how to fly. I thought that was a great moment. So I really enjoyed the opening of the season a lot.
There's a lot of newcomers to this season. Let's talk about them.
Yeah.
I think one of the funniest newcomers is Black Noir 2, because now we have a different Black Noir, except he talks and he speaks, and he's getting on everyone's nerves because he's breaking character by speaking. He's not supposed to talk. He keeps talking. He's acting like an actor. He's like, I need some direction here. I don't know what's going on. Like, I keep getting multiple directions. Like, what am I supposed to do?
That was fucked up, guys.
He's like, yeah,
that was really fucked up.
I was like, I'm cool to go with the tide. I'm fine, but like, I've never killed anybody before. He's super funny. Then we have Firecracker, who becomes one of the 7. Who Firecracker, we don't completely know her powers yet. She just snapped her fingers and created fire. I'm assuming can create fire.
She also says she's very strong, and we got an idea of that because her and Kimiko were fighting in the photo booth for a while. We didn't actually see them doing any fighting, but I'm guessing she must have super strength to be able to fight Kimiko for that long and not be really hurt afterwards.
Yeah, let me see.
That's my guess.
The boys Firecracker,
because she obviously has the, like you said, the snapping little parlor trick, but
it's just
she did say she's really strong too. We didn't see it though.
But I think her biggest power is her influence on people.
Yeah.
Her influence on the masses. She knows really how to market and control people. Then we have Joe Kossler, who's played by Jeffrey Dean Morgan, who works for not the CIA, right? He's working for a different organization who's trying to bring down Supes because he's recruiting Billy Butcher.
It's like Black Ops
Sort of.
outfit, and he and Billy used to work together in the army.
And so his main plot and his goal, Joe Kossler, is to use Billy to get Ryan away from Homelander so that they can either raise and turn and flip Ryan to be a good hero to defeat Homelander eventually, or figure out a way to kill Homelander through Ryan.
For me, that's the best stakes of the show, and that's the best conflict overall, is the future being up in the air for Ryan.
In the world, too, it's sort of this apocalyptic future.
Yeah, exactly, because they all know that if Ryan turns into another Homelander, they're all done, and there's really no way of stopping him, because when he grows up, he will be the strongest superhero ever. So I think that's the most interesting conflict and storyline of the entire series. The future of this kid's life and what he ends up becoming, and so much. That's where the real stakes for the show, I think, lie, and that being up in the air. And you have two kinds of father figures: the good and the light and the dark, the good and the bad. And Joe has a great point. It's like, because Butcher's like, you don't want to raise your kid to be a killer. Like, he doesn't want Ryan to be a part of this world. But I mean, he's a Supe. It's inevitable. He's going to be part of the world and part of this conflict, no matter what. He should be on the good side. He should be on our side as opposed to Homelander's side, because he also has this great line of, we better get a grip on this before the Supes start rounding us up into camps, because that could happen eventually for sure. So I think the stakes in terms of Ryan's future are the heaviest in the entire show and the highlight of the show.
Yeah, I really like his character a lot because obviously he's growing. He's sort of having this coming-of-age experience of being the son of the most powerful superhero ever, as well as being the first naturally born superhero. So he's got that burden on him as well. And he has the burden of, I'm the only thing that could destroy my father. He probably doesn't know that yet. He probably doesn't know that that's what people want to use him for. But no one knows how to kill Homelander except for probably through Ryan. And we could sort of see an invincible kind of storyline here, like father versus son, power versus power. The only thing powerful enough to defeat one or the other is the blood. And so I think it's really interesting to see this going forward. How will Ryan be sort of the object, the person, the Supe that takes down Homelander at the end of season 5?
And I think that Homelander's arc is one of the best of the show so far for him, because he's dealing with aging. And, you know, he's always pretended to be this invulnerable, perfect being, better than human, but he is human. Essentially, he's just a Supe, and we see that he's been collecting all of the hairs that fall out, and he's been dyeing his hair for years now, as Sage points out, who's a great character. We'll get into her in a sec as well. So I really enjoy Homelander dealing with the fact that he is not a perfect being, and he is going to die, and he is aging, and also, like, we finally got him without his suit on, without a shirt on, and I like how Anthony Starr, he's not shredded, he's not jacked, because I think it purposely shows that Homelander, because he's so powerful, doesn't even need to be in great shape, because he already is so invulnerable and so powerful. And so I like that Anthony Starr not being ripped shows really where the character's mind is at right now, where he doesn't even care about that. He doesn't even care to be in good shape or exercise or whatever. However Homelander would exercise would probably be like Mr. Incredible lifting trains or something. But it does help show the humanize Homelander and take him down from the pedestal of a super god in a lot of ways.
Yeah, I agree completely. I like how they finally showed him in plain clothes as well.
Yeah.
It was cool to see him in just like jeans.
We saw
and
it once
sweatshirt.
before, last season, but then again in this season when he introduced himself to Sage.
Yeah, I still think in Ryan and Homelander is one of the most interesting parts of this movie of the show as well, because we have Homelander trying to be a dad, kind of, but also getting jealous of his son at times, trying to take the limelight away from his son on his first save, being there when he's not really supposed to be, as well as he's not a dad. He's a terrible father. He's his biological father, but he's bad at it, you know, as we'd expect. He's selfish. He doesn't understand that Ryan has other feelings besides what Homelander thinks his feelings should be. And he doesn't understand that, he had a loving mother who was human, and he thought he was human for his entire life until recently. And so he has humanity still inside of him that Homelander thinks he can just erase out of Ryan, but you can't erase that out because Ryan has different feelings than Homelander.
I killed the guy. That's what you're upset about?
He's like, that's what you're upset about?
Oh, well, accidents happen.
But, Butcher is that connection to his mother. Butcher's the connection to his humanity that he doesn't want to let go of, but Homelander's forcing him to let go of.
And Ryan's the connection to Butcher's humanity, too, of being the son of the last thing to exist of the woman he loves.
Yeah, and so Butcher's trying to protect. He's said it multiple times in this episode, but the thing with Butcher is you can't always trust what he says because he's gone back on his word multiple times. But in this season, his motivation is I have 6 months to live, and I'm afraid of dying, and I don't want to die without setting things right with the person I cared for most, with my wife, Becca, who passed away, who died, and I need to set things straight with her son, even though he's not my biological son. I don't want to die without doing that.
Yeah.
But is that really Butcher's full plot? Is there something else going on behind the scenes that we don't know of yet? Because he does go back on his word multiple times in this show.
I think he's cooking something for sure on his own. And I will say Cameron Crovetti, who plays Ryan, he's doing a really good job. Obviously, this being his second season on the show. I think he's crushing his performance right now for being such a young performer around so many huge veterans. I think that he's doing a phenomenal job as Ryan.
Isn't he in season 2?
Is he in season 2?
Yeah.
Is that when they introduced him?
Yeah, Beck is.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. This
Gotcha.
is his third season.
Gotcha.
I believe. Yeah.
And there's another highlight of the show that nobody saw coming, and it's the best cameo of the show, even better than Tilda Swinton. And that's Will Ferrell's cameo, filming the as himself, filming the A-Train film. And first of all, the film's great. White savior movie of a white guy coach trying to save a black teen from the ghetto.
It opens like The Wire. Yeah. Like it's the same exact setup of drug dealing in The Wire.
And he's like, you can't go slinking around yayo with gangbangers. I was not expecting Will Ferrell, and that made me cackle for sure. It was an amazing thing to see.
I smelled an Oscar performance.
Oh my God.
And then we have the best newcomer probably is Sister Sage, this new character who is the smartest person in the world and clearly influenced by Sherlock Holmes, the character, this version of the smartest person in the world.
And Good Will Hunting.
Good Will Hunting, sure, yeah. So we have Sister Sage, smartest person in the world, whose introduction is pretty odd, but I mean, I guess fitting for the boys where she's taking a shit and Homelander knocks on her door. We see her apartment full of books. When I was watching the first episode, I was a little perplexed by the direction they were going with this, showing the smartest person in the world. Obviously, you can argue that the smartest person in the world, you can go different ways. You can make them sort of a Lex Luthor, ultra-billionaire tech genius sort of trying to take over the world with all these companies that they have, massive wealth. Smartest person in the world could be a doctor, could be anything, an engineer, something, a tinkerer. Then we have the smartest person in the world. Like, sure, Sherlock Holmes is never said to be the smartest person in the world, but he might be in his world, possibly. And his version of that is doing drugs and solving crimes and being an expert in many fields and general curiosity. That seems to be the route of Sister Sage, not the drug part, but the general curiosity and expertise in every subject probably ever. It looks like she's just been consuming books for her entire life, and she doesn't seem to care about things like wealth or comfortability and sort of the ignorance is bliss sort of mentality, I guess, of being such a super genius that you need to have ignorance to actually be happy and to keep your sanity, I would guess, because who knows what's going on in that kind of brain. Hence the lackluster apartments in the pajamas and just kind of being like lazy to an extent physically to get that ignorance is bliss sort of feeling. That's what I'm assuming is that character.
That's why I think it is compares to Good Will Hunting, of someone who they're kind of like they know how smart they are, but they aren't doing anything with it. And they're choosing to just keep a simple life as opposed to pursuing anything with their incredible skills. So I definitely got Will Hunting vibes because he's the smartest person alive and the smartest person in a century at least, and he just lives in Southie, working manual labor, cleaning floors in a tiny apartment in the worst neighborhood in Boston. So I think that it's very similar trajectory of their approach to the world's greatest genius of like having the ability to do anything but choosing not to. And also the ignorance is bliss. We see that at the end of episode 3 when her and the Deep start making out and she's eating junk food Bloomin' Onion from Outback.
That Bloomin' Onion from Outback?
Bloomin' Onion. You want to watch Transformers 2, all that stuff. And then it reveals that with the metal instrument on the table that she gave herself a lobotomy right before that. So that's probably something she does weekly. Lobotomizes herself just so she can turn her brain off and become like more of a numb human being and not. I just wish that we were getting more of like how her mind works.
Yeah.
We got the little Sherlock Holmes breakdown of Homelander immediately, but otherwise she's obviously hyper intelligent, but we're not really getting a sense of that too much. So I'd really like to see. I've been hoping to see more of showcasing her intense brain power, and I think that we're kind of lacking that. So immediately we got a little sense of it, but otherwise it's not really. She doesn't seem like the smartest person in existence.
Yeah, I kind of agree because we haven't really seen how her mind works. Also, she hasn't done anything insanely smartest person on the planet impressive yet.
Yeah.
But I guess when it comes to smartest person on the planet, she's obviously got schemes within schemes within schemes. She obviously detected that she was being followed and set the trap for the boys inside that ballroom at the Truth Con. So she set that trap because she knew she was being followed. But I agree. I want to see her powers from her perspective somehow. Because we sort of see everyone else's powers from their perspective at different points in time. But I want to see Sister Sage from her perspective. It's probably tough to do. But, I mean, they did it in The Hangover.
Yeah.
With counting cards.
Yeah.
That was funny.
Yeah, there's different ways to do it.
I think there's a way to do it because I want to see how smart she actually is. But obviously we don't know her full plan because she's working with Homelander, who just stumbled upon her door. Until then, she was really doing nothing. And now, because of that, my assumption is as soon as she saw Homelander at her door, she realized what she could be doing going forward. She probably came up with this entire plan immediately. I want to see her. We'll eventually see her plan, what it is, because I don't believe for a second that she's completely on Homelander's side. She's obviously playing all the soups against each other. She even played deep against Ashley, and so she's turning everyone's brains and sending them off in different directions, it seems like.
I think we're going to get a Sherlock Holmes type scene near the end of the season of her revealing all of the strings she's been pulling. I'm sure she's going to be pulling more strings, but I completely agree. I don't buy that she's all aboard whatever Homelander wants to do. I think that she's got a different kind of idea. She's got her own thing going on. Immediately, I agree, right when Homelander walked in, she probably saw an opportunity to do something she wants to do. And so I think we're going to get a huge reveal, Sherlock Holmes. Because the thing with Sherlock Holmes is he never tells Watson everything he knows. And
infuriates Watson.
And then he solves the case, and then he tells Watson everything he knew from the beginning that helped him solve the case miraculously. And he always knows an insane amount of information about every moment they have on a case. And then he tells it all. So I think that there will be a moment where she divulges everything to Homelander, and he's going to be bewildered, and she's going to be on top in some capacity. But I would like to just see more evidence, because they're not really portraying her as, she's obviously very, very smart, we can see, but that's all her actions are showing, that she's very, very smart, as opposed to like, I want to see more of like, this is the most brilliant mind in existence. Let's see how, like, I need more evidence of that. I obviously believe she is, but I just need more. I need to see more of that. You know what I mean?
No, I agree. Yeah. And I'm also really curious about the future of Firecracker going forward. So Firecracker, her character, like we said, we don't know much about her powers too much. Kind of like Sister Sage, we don't know too much. No one really knows all of her powers, and I think she keeps them hidden. Obviously, she has regenerative properties because she can heal herself from lobotomies really quickly. But I wonder if she has any other powers besides being super smart. And with Valerie Curry, who is Firecracker, the show really tapped into the YouTuber thing with just like the truthers and the conspiracy theorists, and really leaning very hard into that. Maybe a little too hard, where to the point it's kind of a little too comedic and satirical. It's dialed to like
over the top.
It's dialed to like 100, I think. So maybe they're going a little too far with the satire on that end of the spectrum, but it's still entertaining, and it's obviously relevant now to today more than anything.
Well, can we stay on that for a bit?
For Firecracker?
Just the tone.
Sure.
I think that's been a big issue with this season in terms of the satire used to be more subtle and nuanced, and it wasn't so much in your face, and it really only made up a small portion of the show. But I think a huge weakness of this season has been it's overindulgence in satire and in terms of like characterization, because the show used to be really well written, especially the first 2 seasons. But I think that they're just kind of going really too hard on satire and way too hard on politics. And sometimes it feels like I'm just like scrolling through the news channels watching this show.
Yeah.
And it feels like I'm like watching political podcasts, and it's just like, I don't like that stuff. So like, I'm not really enjoying the show too much, because it's like they're really leaning into it way too hard. And it used to be way more nuanced, but now people are more caricatures, and they're pursuing the extremes as opposed to really the more thorough line of what reality is. And also, I think that they're focusing way too much on real events, and they're writing real events of our world into that world. And there are multiple moments in this season, whether it be Pizzagate or there's a January 6th comment. There's a comment about some kind of, I can't remember, congressional hearing that really happened here. And for me, it's taking me out of the immersive storytelling of what a fiction should be. And it's making, I know that they want to be like, this is a reflection of the real world and a mirror of the real world, but I think that they're going way too hard to the point where it's not really entertaining anymore. It used to be funny. It used to be really like, oh, man, that's so fun that they're doing that and poking fun at that. But now I think because they're focusing so much on putting reality things into the show, it's taking away the entertaining escapism that I always had when watching this show. Because now this season, when I've been watching it, half the time I feel like I'm watching real news, and it's just throwing me off because it's losing its fun escapist entertainment value because of that.
You could argue it's always been like that, though.
But not to this degree.
But I think season 4, they're really leaning super hard into it.
Yeah.
But it's funny. I think it would be funnier if they toned it down a little bit. And it's still both ways. There's still satire on both sides.
Yeah, they're making fun of both parties.
They had Maeve's all-gender ballroom, stuff like that. But they might be leaning a little too far into it, the satire of the political satire, because it's almost like watching SNL now. They lean insanely hard into it.
I agree, and they have always had it, but they had a much more balanced approach to it, especially in the first season, where it was just a part of the show. But now it seems to be like the main focus of the show is the political satire, and I think it's just going way too far and taking away the enjoyment of, I want to watch this really fun, dark, gritty, badass, gory, extremely out there superhero show, but now it feels like I'm watching the news.
Because I like the political aspect with Victoria.
Yeah, that's
I really
great.
like that element. And I like the ice skating situation where Huey was inside the rafters above and inside the vents listening to the conversation between her and Homelander and Sister Sage. And I really like that plot, how they want Victoria to obviously win vice presidency, but then kill the president, become president, and then take away all the bills and restrictions and laws against soups, put a soup in every town who has authority over the police, over all the citizens, and then they want her to out herself and come clean about being a soup herself and show that there's a superhero and president as the president of the United States. However, she doesn't want that yet. She thinks it's a bad idea because then the military will go after her.
Move that fast, yeah.
But then I love how Homer is like, then what's the point? What are you doing? Why do you want to be president then? Just be president, then become the first superhero president. But Homelander wants that because I feel like for him, he can't be president because of everything he's done. Even though he's killed people, it's still controversial. But he needs a figurehead of a soup to be president so that maybe once there's a superhero president, then maybe Homelander sees himself as being able to take over the entire world as a superhero.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think he wants to be president, but he wants to be still the person in the most power because he has the most power.
Yeah, he
of
would
anyone.
be. But I like how Victoria, they've shown how indestructible she is this season.
Yeah, because they tried to pour acid on her and it just burned through her suit, and she was like, "Dude, what the fuck?" And then Butcher shot her point blank right in the head, and nothing happened.
Yeah.
So I do like that show. I know some people were like, I've read online, some people are confused, like, we didn't know that she was bulletproof, and like, that's fine with me because it shows the stakes of like this antagonist and this villain, like, how do you defeat this person? Just like Homelander. So now we have two like impervious people. I think it adds a lot of stakes to the show. And again, like I said, Victoria and the future of Ryan are the two best conflicts going on in the show.
It's good for the audience to know how invulnerable she is because you could just snipe her from a distance.
Exactly.
No, you can't.
Yeah. There's a huge thing missing in this season.
What is it?
And I've been like, where the hell is this guy? Where's Stan Edgar? Giancarlo Esposito's character introduced last season was a highlight because he's a human who, through his just brass nails and just being extremely intelligent and dominating, he's someone who knew how to control Homelander. And he's like the only human who ever talked to Homelander in a demeaning way, besides Butcher. And I loved Edgar. I loved Giancarlo Esposito's character. We haven't heard from him. We haven't seen him, absent completely from the show. I was expecting him to have a really good storyline this season because they started out really strong with his character and introducing him, having someone controlling Homelander, I thought was great. But I've been like, the first 3 episodes, I was like, where the hell is Edgar? He was one of my favorite new additions last year.
That's a good point. I totally forgot about him.
I was just by episode 3, I was like, he's gonna show up this time. He must show up now.
So
because they set him up as like the biggest formidable obstacle for a Homelander.
And I feel like what they've shown in the first 3 episodes is how Homelander hates being in charge.
Yeah.
Because no one stands up to him because he needed Stan Edgar. He needed an opposing force to keep him in check and to challenge him because Homelander wants a challenge. And that's obviously why he brought Sister Sage in, because he didn't have that from Stan Edgar. And now he's getting it from Sister Sage, but from Sister Sage, he's just doing whatever she wants, versus with Stan Edgar is more of a battle back and forth. But you're right. Where the hell is Stan Edgar? Because he was such a great opposing force to Homelander. But I think they've done a good job those first 2 episodes of like how Homelander hates being in charge because everyone just says yes to him with everything.
They're all sycophants.
But now he's got Sister Sage to say no to him and challenge him.
Yeah. And
so it seems like Sister Sage is sort of taking that
filled
spot.
in that role because he is smart enough to know that he needs someone to contradict him on points of view to get the better plan. Because I think he understands that I think he truly deep down knows that he's not as smart as he thinks he is. Or wants to be.
Homelander's a genius, intellect, but he's not a Sister Sage genius.
So obviously he was like, I need someone who can contradict me at times to make sure I'm on the right path, which was a smart move. But I miss the conflict with Stan Edgar because Stan Edgar managed to control him. Not control him, but like keep him in check, which nobody had ever been able to do. And it was because Stan Edgar knew how to push his buttons and use ratings and the public opinion to control to an extent Homelander. Now he's got more freedom. He doesn't care about ratings anymore, obviously, because after he killed that guy at the end of season 3, and he's got a fan base that loves that kind of stuff, he's not worried about ratings, which was a big part of his character in season 3, the battle of ratings with him and Starlight, and learning the love and praise. But I do think that the Stan Edgar character was a really powerful addition that I've missed a lot this season.
Homelander still does have that intense desire to be loved.
Yeah.
As he has his discussion with 3 versions of himself in the mirror at the end of episode 3, which now there's 3 versions of himself he's talking to versus just the one, which I thought was pretty cool, with the broken glass, and each portion of the glass has a different sort of personality trait to him inside of there, and how one of the main ones, the main evil version of himself, the Gollum version of himself, says, we need to finally cut out this part of you that needs to be loved, because he doesn't know how to be a dad. Ryan doesn't love him, and he thinks Ryan wants Butcher to be his dad, and no one seems to like him anymore, love him, or that's what he feels like. And so he's got this intense desire to be loved that he can't get rid of. Because like you said, he still is part human. There's a part of him that is still human, and that's what he can't eliminate from himself. But then he asks, what do I do to his personalities? And they basically say, you have to go to the start. You have to go to the beginning. You have to go to your past. And I'm sure we'll see some flashbacks.
We got a Jason Bourne Treadstone flashback right there.
It was Jason Bourne and Stranger Things flashback.
Yeah. So I'm sure Homelander will be exploring.
Are you ready to give yourself to this program?
Albert Finney over there. All right, let's get into our intermission before we break down more of the show, because I have more critiques that I want to get into.
More critiques?
I have more, man. I'm telling you, I'm not very happy with this season. I'm telling
All right.
you.
Well, before we continue, the best way to support the show is to become a patron at patreon.com/Raiders of the Lost Podcast. If you were a patron or you are a patron, you can listen to this episode ad-free on Patreon and Spotify. Linking them together is a new feature that those applications have now, which is epic. You also get access to our Discord. You get free merchandise, bonus episodes every single week of the show. Go directly to Patreon. It's the only place to listen to them. Patreon helps us do the show full-time. Without it, we could not do Raiders of the Lost Podcast. So thank you so much to all of our patrons. Also, a great way to support the show is to leave those 5-star ratings and reviews on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. These ratings help us get seen by new people and help us chart and add reputation to the show. I'm going to get a tattoo after 5,000 Apple ratings, so let's get those numbers up. We're going to get those up. Anthony's going to select a tattoo for me to get.
Oh, yeah.
Hopefully it's not embarrassing. Also, another great way to support the show is to share us. Word of mouth is the best way for a show to grow organically. So tell all of your friends and family members who love movies, who love the boys, about our show and send them this episode.
This episode, of course, is sponsored by our friends at movieposters.com, the #1 place to get your posters online today. Be sure to use our promo code Raiders10 at movieposters.com. They get 10% off your order immediately. They have a huge selection of pretty much every movie and TV show imaginable in their poster library. If you love The Boys and want to get some posters for your place, or maybe even get a poster for the movie and TV lover in your life, go to movieposters.com. They have a shit ton of The Boys posters, all sorts of sizes, framing, and even backlighting like James has behind him for all of your poster needs.
Sexy Fellowship of the Ring backlit poster. Look at that thing. Original prints, certified from the 2000s.
If you want to make your home look like a movie theater, go to movieposters.com and use our promo code Raiders10 to get 10% off your order right now.
All right. Movie quote competition. Are you ready for this, Anthony?
Ready.
Okay. I've been to a million auditions, and the same thing happens every time. Or I get interrupted because someone wants to get a sandwich, or I'm crying, and they start laughing. Or there's people sitting in the waiting room, and they're like me, but prettier and better at because maybe I'm not good enough.
La La Land.
La La Land. Last episode, that's how Andy said La La Land.
La La Land.
La La Land. La La Land.
All right, here's my quote. I prefer to play abused, tragic alcoholics, and one day I'll probably be discovered lifeless in an overflowing bathtub with an empty bottle of sleeping pills spilled all over the floor. But the sad thing is, I'm actually a very gifted comedian. Also an actor.
Very gifted comedian. I don't know.
That's Margot Robbie's character in Asteroid City, out on the balcony.
That's a good quote.
Yeah.
I've only seen that movie once, so that one went right over my head.
Clearly.
Over my head.
Clearly.
Right. Guess this movie release year, Anthony. The Good Girl.
Oh, with Jennifer Aniston?
Yeah.
2000, and Jake Gyllenhaal.
Yep.
2004.
2002.
Damn. Oh, wow, this is pretty old. What year did Spike Lee's Summer of Sam come out?
Good question.
Thanks, man. I worked really hard on this one.
There's a great bullet shot in that movie where there's a woman, before she gets shot, she's holding a book, and the blood squib goes through the book. It's so cool.
Nice.
Is this 2000s? Oh, it's got to be either late 90s or early 2000s. I'm going to go 2000.
1999.
Oh, my God.
You were close.
1 year off.
You were close. Not close enough, though. Any closer and you would have gotten it.
Okay, movie pop quiz time. Anthony, David Fincher, he grew up in San Francisco, and he actually had a neighbor.
You've asked this one.
Have I asked him
It's
before?
George Lucas.
Well,
He started working at ILM when he was like 18.
anyways, the question was, who was David Fincher's neighbor in his youth? Anthony couldn't even let me finish it.
Well, I know this already. And
Well,
then
not everyone listening knows it.
Sorry.
There are people listening, Anthony.
Ask the question.
No, it's too late
No,
now.
ask the question.
No.
Ask the question.
Who was David Fincher's neighbor in San Francisco when he was a kid?
That was George Lucas.
That's correct.
Sorry.
No, don't say sorry to me. Say sorry to the listeners.
Sorry, listeners. I apologize.
You ruined it, man.
I apologize. All right. Here's my quiz question. Who is the youngest person to win a leading actor Oscar ever?
Youngest person?
Youngest person to win an Oscar for lead.
For lead actor.
Just lead actor or actress. Just lead. Just lead in a movie.
Lead actor.
It could be actress or actor.
So it's either an actor or actress.
Yes.
Well, I'm pretty
and this
sure.
is lead, not supporting.
No. So I'm pretty sure it's Adrian Brody for the pianist. I'm pretty sure, unless someone's been younger that's won recently, but because that was in like 2002. He was like 24 when he won that. Final answer, Adrian Brody.
That's correct.
Nice.
It was for the pianist. In 2001, he was 29.
29.
Yeah, so the youngest person to win Best Lead. Two people who were teenagers have won supporting, but not lead.
Yeah. Anna Paquin won when she was a kid, right?
Yeah, for the piano.
Yeah.
Lots of piano movies going on. It's good acting in piano movies.
All right, Anthony. Do we have any haters besides you for this episode?
Oh, yeah.
And I'm going to pull up a 5-star written review from someone on Apple.
All right. We got Anthony K. on our news episode. Still no Blade movie? Unsubscribed.
Same, bro. Same.
Then we got Mika Fisher on our 007 episode. This was the best hater segment, LOL. That being said, Casino Royale being so low on your ranking and not being number one, unsubscribed. Sorry, bud.
I love Skyfall.
Yeah, Skyfall. We're in the minority of loving No Time to Die.
I fucking love that movie. The movie's excellent.
But
Come on.
Then we got Requiem. Finally caught up and saw Challengers and the episode. Been so busy with my newborn, but so many great takes in this episode. I do unfortunately have to unsubscribe due to y'all saying it was TGI Fridays. It was Applebee's in the movie.
Applebee's.
Eating good in the neighborhood.
Congratulations on your new baby.
Yeah, that's awesome. And then Just the Villain wrote in our Acapulco episode. Very interesting topic. Great choice to bring them on the podcast and share their perspective. Subscribed. That was a subscribe. No, unsubscribe.
Oh, we heard Anthony.
Subscribed. That's our unsubscribes for today. That's our haters.
All right, we have a great 5-star written review from Bean. My favorite podcast ever. 5 stars. This is one of the only podcasts I listen to. It's so funny and entertaining, and there are so many episodes with new ones coming out constantly. I love listening to the movie news episodes every Sunday when they come out, and I've gotten inspiration to make my own short film,
Wow.
which I just finished. Definitely the best movie film podcast. Congratulations.
That's awesome. Congrats.
On finishing your first short film.
Bane.
Bean. That's an awesome achievement. We're so glad we inspired you to make a movie.
That warms my heart.
Hopefully it's great. I'm sure it is.
Send
And
it to
hopefully-
us.
Yeah, send us if
Yeah,
there's
we'd love
a
to
link
watch
on
it.
YouTube
Yeah.
when it's done, or if it's finished, or if you just finished rapping and you're editing now. We'd love to check it out.
Yeah.
So yeah,
That's awesome.
congratulations. That's so cool. That warms my heart.
It's hard to make a film, so good job.
It's very difficult.
Yeah.
It's fun though.
Oh, yeah.
It's the best time ever. All right, Anthony, what is your streaming recommendation?
The horror film Don't Look Now is on Criterion Channel, starring Donald Sutherland and Julie Christie. It's about this couple who lose their daughter in a tragic accident, so then they move to Venice to start fresh, and some spooky supernatural stuff starts happening while a serial killer is on the loose.
Spooky.
Awesome horror movie.
My recommendation is Good Time, which is on Max.
Max
Now has an N in front of it. Max.
sounded like 3 N's.
Mnemonic.
Max.
Let's get back into our episode on The Boys. Now, Anthony, you said you had some more critiques of season 4
Yes.
of The Boys
Yes.
in the first 3 episodes. I'm very curious what these critiques are.
There's something that they, and again,
You said there's something missing, a gaping hole, like a black hole.
no, that was Stan Edgar. Was missing.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah. That was like 8 years ago, man. That was like 16 minutes ago. This is something that's not missing, but something that's been added that I think is just on the writing staff of the show. And this is something that TV shows do. So I think that the cracks of the narrative are showing in this season. And I think it really is all due to the writing staff of not making sure that the story is as strong as it was in the past. And there's something that some TV shows do. It's kind of like a cliche thing that happens in soap operas and TV shows that don't really have much to do with their characters plot-wise. So they add this element to the show so that the characters can talk out their problems to someone, and that is when characters start talking to ghosts. It's something I really hate when I see in TV.
You bring it up a lot.
It's
Anthony fucking hates ghosts.
It's annoying. And soap operas do it all the time. Shows have done it in the past many times, and it's happened twice in this show. So we have two characters who are started speaking to ghosts. And we have Billy Butcher, who's now talking to his dead ex-wife. And then
dead wife, not
wife.
ex-wife.
Dead wife.
They didn't get divorced, Anthony.
You're right. They didn't get divorced.
I heard a great joke yesterday. You want to hear it?
Yeah.
Do you know why divorce is so expensive?
Why?
Because it's worth it.
That's good. That's funny. So Butcher's talking to his dead wife and like having full-on conversations with her. And then we got Frenchie talking to the Russian mobster who Kimiko killed last season.
Yeah. When he's high, yeah.
Yeah, when he's high. But still, he's talking to a ghost. Now, that's something that I don't like in writing because it gives...
Well, then Homelander's talking to himself.
Homelander's talking to his split personalities. I'll give that a pass because it's part of the character. And it's clearly been part of his psyche all along.
But he's still talking to someone that's not there.
True. But I just think talking to a ghost, it just throws me off of episodes because it's never happened before with Butcher. Yes, he's got the brain tumor. He's probably... Now I guess he's hallucinating, but... I think it's, in a way, honestly, I think it's lazy writing, and it's a way for writers to be like, oh, I need my character to work out their problems, but they have no one to talk to. Let me just have them verbatim give us exposition to a ghost from their past. And I don't like it in writing, and I don't like it in TV shows. And honestly, I think for me, watching not one but two characters talk to ghosts in this season, I was like, what the fuck, guys? Come on. Honestly. That was my honest reaction.
Well, then Homelander talking to himself... So it's three characters talking to characters that aren't really there.
Yeah.
Is that a problem because it happens in the same episode? You know, I don't love talking to ghosts. I understand why it has to happen in especially it happens in TV because you got to fill in the void. You got to add script pages. You need dialogue. And if your character's by themselves, you need to show the audience what's going on in their head. I guess it's the easiest way to do it is to talk to a ghost.
That's the problem. You don't want to do the easy way. If you want to make a show that is really great, don't do the easy way. Don't take the easy route. That's
route.
That's
route?
That's
you
how
say route or route.
I'm route.
I say route.
I
started saying route a couple of years ago.
I'm fine with Homelander having split personality and talking to other personalities because that's an actual condition. And that's an actual thing. I'm not okay with characters out of nowhere in the fourth season talking to ghosts.
I get it. I understand your rage. I get it.
I think it's a cop-out.
I mean, you're shaking.
And I think
you don't have to get that upset, Anthony.
I think it's a cop-out. I think it's lazy writing. And like you said, it's a way of filling a void because they don't have anything else to do with the character. And I think that it's just like, really, guys, talking to ghosts? I don't like it.
Yeah, it's a lot of ghosts. There's a lot of ghosts in this season.
I mean, it's not like it's Jennifer Love Hewitt's The Ghost Whisperer where she talks to ghosts is the whole show.
J-Love. Childhood crush
great.
right there.
Which also, that show is a ripoff of The Sixth Sense.
Yeah, it is.
But whatever. That's the whole point of the show. But like, out of nowhere, a ghost showing up and a character just talking to them, I'm just like, get the fuck out of here. Come on.
Whoa,
Come
Anthony's
on.
heated
I'm
about
telling
these
you,
ghosts.
I'm not happy about this.
If you ever meet someone that hunts ghosts, do you get upset?
No, I don't get upset.
Hey, some people believe in ghosts, man.
No, yeah. Yeah, but hunting ghosts?
People do it for a living. They do it.
I don't believe in ghosts.
Clearly.
But I mean, in fiction, it works. I love ghost stories.
You're very ghostist.
No, I just said I love ghost stories, and I love ghost movies, and I love supernatural movies and haunting movies. I think they're awesome.
But you don't like when people talk to ghosts.
In this tech context, absolutely not, because this is not a ghost story movie show.
It's true. It's not a ghost story show.
And now we got ghosts propping up.
Yeah, but I mean, it's TV.
I know.
It's a part of TV. You know, Rescue Me did it like fucking every season, every episode.
Yeah, and that became a bad trend in that show.
I guess. No, I understand why you feel such fury.
It's not fury. It's just disappointment.
You can put the gun down, Anthony.
It was disappointing to see, honestly, because I really liked the show.
No, yeah, because when Butcher clearly was having hallucinations and before they revealed that it was Becca, you could kind of guess that it was going to be Becca because he was sort of just talking offhandedly out of like the corner of the room.
People were noticing.
People were noticing and the audience was noticing. And you're like, oh, he's talking to a ghost probably. And I understand that he's probably would have hallucinations going on because of the compound V, how it's affected him. I really like how he's got some parasites squirming around.
Yeah,
his
that's
head.
cool. That's cool.
That's pretty creepy stuff.
I want to see what's going to happen to him.
It's like the host.
Yeah.
I'm curious to see if he takes compound V again.
He will.
And if he does take it again, will he die? And also, will he die sooner than the 6 months he's been given to live?
I think absolutely. I think he's going to take Compound V and he's going to go out guns blazing against Homelander.
I guess I also I like the scene with Homelander and Billy with Ryan
In the kitchen?
in the first episode, right? In the kitchen
Yeah.
in the fundraiser. And I like how Homelander could immediately see the tumor inside of his head.
Mhm.
Now, why didn't Homelander just kill him there? Probably he didn't want to kill Butcher in front of Ryan.
Yeah.
And also, it's a bad place to commit murder. You're at a fundraiser for a presidential candidate.
It's while you're on trial for murder.
Yeah, so it's probably not the smartest thing to do. But I did like that scene a lot.
There's-
Whenever they're in the room together, whenever they're sharing the screen, Butcher and Homelander, I think that's the real juice of the show.
Oh, yeah. But there was a really big missed opportunity with Homelander, and it could have been one of the strongest scenes of the entire show, and it's him on trial. They showed him in the courtroom for a shot, but I think it could have been a really great, 15-minute sequence of him on trial and, having to answer questions from lawyers and prosecutors. I think that would, or from, a congressional hearing, I think that would have been awesome to see. And that's something that I was hoping we would see because it was set up that he was on, the trial was happening, and then the news came out that he was innocent. I think it would have been really cool to see that court. I think that could have been a cool episode, Homelander in court. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think that would have been awesome.
Well, I know you got your critiques, and I'm sure you have a few more. I'm sure you do. But I'd like to talk about some of the positives, bro.
Yeah, man. There are
Like I said,
positives.
by the time episode 3 is rolling, we're cooking. I mean, the gore is back. It was there in the first 2 episodes. I liked when Ryan killed that stunt guy.
Yeah.
The coordinator. You knew it was going to happen.
Yeah.
I was waiting for it. When they were doing rehearsals, I was like, he's totally going to accidentally
Because when
kill
he
this
said,
guy.
"Yeah, you could throw me for real," I was like, "Oh, he's gonna throw you for
I can
real."
take it. But really, it's Homelander breathing down his neck, throw him hard, push him hard. You knew he was going to squash him like a bug.
Mm-hmm.
And that was great gore, as well as, like I said, season 3, the ice skating scene was excellent.
That was one of my favorite scenes. The whole
So
disaster.
funny.
Yeah.
So funny. Homelander accidentally killing or cutting the Maeve's figure skater in half, and then they all kind of accidentally killed each other in a way.
With the skates.
With the skates.
That was hilarious. That was probably the funniest scene of the season.
Yeah, and then we have the Truth Con, which was weird as fuck in a very boys way, where we have this Soup who can make other copies of himself. Obviously, there's one main copy who they refer to as Prime, who's obsessed with Firecracker. He's in love with her. And he sort of is setting up the stage by himself. He introduces Firecracker. And then later on, pretty gross scene, but very in tune with the boys, where him and 7 versions of himself are all masturbating and eating their asses, and he gets pink eye. So some of them get pink eye, so there's that funny pink eye joke when Frenchie's fighting them. They're all fighting in the ballroom. And, that stuff is very in line with what we're used to with the boys. Just gross out scenes.
Yeah.
So, but I was like, this is fucking disgusting.
It was fucked up.
It was human centipede.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah,
nasty.
it's nasty as hell.
Fucking nasty.
Oh my god.
And, I thought that was the gross out humor is boys' bread and butter.
It's part of
So it was
what
good to
you
get
want.
the gross out humor back because it was kind of lacking the first 2 episodes, I would say. But season 3, they really fucking this is one of the most gross out things they've done.
Yeah.
And then, but I will say some of the action stuff has been head scratching for me because obviously Butcher's not part of the boys anymore technically, and Mother's Milk MM is now in charge, and he leads them into a trap. And now, this trap, this is a cliche. You hate your cliche ghosts. I hate cliche disarmaments. So now we have a situation.
Now you're gonna be critical.
I'm
Here we
gonna be
go.
critical of
Here
this
we go.
action scene.
I know what you're gonna be critical of.
So they get trapped, they get cornered inside this ballroom, and they have 4 guns pointed at them. We have assault
Machine gun-
rifles.
yeah, assault rifles.
Assault rifles and a couple handguns. And the boys are at gunpoint. And then Sister Sage, of course, leaves because plot.
That's what villains do.
She's going to leave instead of seeing the act get carried out, which obviously shows that everyone's such an idiot they can't even do this. And then, cliche, the shot, there's a shot of them, they're 25 feet away from the boys, guns
the
raised.
people with the guns,
They're against
across
the wall.
the room.
Across the room.
And then the boys are against the wall.
And then they cut to Mother's Milk just goes, now, and they all grab a gun and punch someone and disarm them. It irks me, man. It's just you can't just grab an assault rifle and punch someone and get their gun from them. You're gonna get blown away.
Yeah,
it's like that great video meme whenever they show like the people who have disarmament classes. Yeah. And they're like have these crappy.
They
methods.
just like karate chop the wrist.
Yeah, so it's something dumb. It's like, yep, just flip it, and now it's your gun. But the funny GIF video meme is where someone does it, and it cuts to immediately someone in heaven, like, oh, I'm in heaven now.
Yeah.
I just died. Yeah. So when you do it once, okay, you do it once. But when you do 4 of them, it's just like, come on.
I saw that in the blocking of that. I was like, how did they get up to the people with the machine guns?
It doesn't look great. Yeah. And then also, what I didn't understand about the scene continuing is, so this guy, the guy who can duplicate himself,
let's just call him the cloner,
the duplicator, everyone's been punched in the face and been disarmed. And so all the boys' characters, they all have guns. They all have assault rifles and handguns. And so this guy is duplicating. He's butt naked, duplicating more and more. They could just turn around and kill him, right?
Yeah.
But then they run into this ballroom where there's another party happening, a bat mitzvah it's a joke on the Marvelous Miss Maisel.
Funny.
It was funny, yeah. Prime is referencing their own shows in their shows. It's pretty clever
funny.
Marketing. So Marvelous Miss Rachel, was that what it's called? Yeah, something like that. It's like this girl on the chair being hoisted in the air. And then they go in there, and then they're getting chased. Like, oh my God, we got to find cover from this guy because now the duplicating guy has a gun. It's like, you could have just killed him.
I don't understand why they didn't shoot him.
You could have just shot him.
I have no idea why they didn't shoot him.
It didn't make any sense to me.
They left the room and then let him come in.
They had
guns,
and they let him. Yeah, and they let them
no
back
idea.
in.
Like, and then they got the upper hand on them all until Butcher showed up. I was like, why did they leave the room and not kill the guy?
Because I think they just wanted Butcher to come back and Butcher saved the day. Butcher sacrifices himself to let them get away, but then they save Butcher and kill the guy. So there's a lot of dick and balls in this episode.
Yeah, I'm fine with that. It was fine.
A lot of dick and balls.
It was just like the blocking of the entire sequence. I was like really bewildered.
It didn't really make a lot of sense to me.
None of it made sense.
And I was watching it and I was like, oh, this is cool, but also at the same time, why didn't they just kill the guy?
Yeah, why didn't they kill him?
That's it's plot. So I get it, but that's just, for me, the season, that's like the one thing for me, that scene, that sequence, I was like,
It wasn't well done.
It wasn't well blocked out. It really wasn't.
It wasn't well shot or well blocked or choreographed. And it was like, overall for that fight, it was kind of just like the choreography and cinematography. I was just like, who made this exactly?
On paper, it probably seemed to make a lot more sense.
Yeah.
But things change when you go to film. But that, for me, like, I've really enjoyed the season, but like that scene in particular for me just stands out.
It would have made more sense if the guy was just, if the duplicator just started unloading on them and they had to run out of the room.
Yeah.
To just get cover. That would have made way more sense.
They ran out like they were afraid of him.
Yeah, exactly. They all had guns.
You have an assault rifle. Yeah. What are you running for?
He started cloning and they're like, they left.
Just start blasting.
If he was like, oh, they had to like, oh, we got to get out of here. We need to cover. Yeah, that makes way more sense. I would have been like, oh, that's what I would have done too. I would have ran out because there's nowhere to hide behind. But instead, they just left him and let him come in. I was like, that whole sequence, I was like, what is going on here? I don't know.
It's a bit odd.
It was odd.
But aside from that, episode 3 was great, though.
I am missing Soldier Boy a lot. I am missing him a lot. I'm sure they're gonna bring him back in season 5 is the plan. I guarantee at the end of this season, he's gonna get woken up. I guarantee you that. And then season 5, he'll be another main player again.
Yeah, I think that
he brought a great element to the show.
He was my favorite part of last season.
Yeah,
was Soldier Boy.
I think everyone's.
His character was awesome. Jensen Ackles. He's got a great presence. He's fucking just carved from marble. The guy's got a fucking look and face and voice.
There was like an element to the show. It used to be very offensive, and I feel like it's not offensive anymore.
He was so offensive.
Yeah, exactly.
Funny, yeah.
And that was so funny. And everyone loved him because he was so offensive, and we're missing that again. It's like the humor isn't like offensive humor anymore. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
If that makes sense.
I get it. It's still offensive, but I think like we talked about earlier, the humor of this season is just really leaning into the political divisiveness of America, of the left and red and right. I mean, left and right and blue and red. It's really leaning really hard into those versus the comedy coming from offensive jokes, which I think were always so fun.
Yeah. I think ultimately that's just been my biggest qualm with this season. It's not as fun. It has fun moments, but it's not as fun and escapist as it used to be.
Huey and Starlight, though, they're just kind of there. They're just there.
Starlight is really not doing anything at all.
I think she's about to blow as a
Eventually.
character. You know, she's learning how to fly, obviously, so she'll learn how to fly by the end of the season, I'm sure, and be great at it. And then I believe my assumption is Starlight will probably be a formidable match against Homelander maybe by the end of the season.
Yeah.
So it seems like that's what they're setting her up for, as well as now she's been sitting in the shadows and sitting on the bench out of her own personal choice because she doesn't really want to deal with what's happening in sort of the spotlight of being the opposing force for Homelander because of all the Starlighters and all the controversy around the framed murders. But now, the end of episode 3, she's come out as saying, Starlight is back. I'm coming back, everybody. Let's go. I'm learning how to fly. So I'm assuming she'll be a lot more powerful by the end of the season.
Yeah.
And have a lot more going on because her and Huey sort of have not had much going on. Huey had the mission with Mother's Milk, which was cool. But aside from that, he's just always running back to the hospital, which is sort of like a dead end for the character.
I just think that they came up with like things for the characters to do because they didn't have anything really plot-wise to do. So they came up with subplots for them.
That's exactly what happened.
Weren't related to anything else that happened.
Yeah, for Huey, Kimiko, and Frenchie.
Hey, man, just Simon Pegg's in the show, but he's just asleep the whole time.
Yeah, what a fucking bummer.
Oh, my God. He's just been asleep the whole season.
What a waste
Simon
of such
Pegg.
a loved character and actor.
We get Simon Pegg on screen, finally, and he's just in bed.
You hear him on the phone, but it's pretty lame. I was like, oh, yeah, I forgot. I forgot Simon Pegg's in the show because his phone's ringing.
When he got the call from his dad, I'm like, yes, Simon Pegg's already back.
He's just asleep.
He's just there.
He's just cozy in bed.
They could have just gotten to rate him extra and put a Simon Pegg mask on him, and it wouldn't have made any difference.
Is that a Mission Impossible reference?
You probably.
Oh, man. All right, you got more critiques, Anthony?
I'm just, it's just like the writing and the dialogue has just been not right. Because, like, speaking of Huey, like, he's, the crew is, like, in their headquarters talking about what to do, and then Huey's just, like, bitching about his mom. And I'm like, why is he saying that out loud? It's just things like that. It's not really, I don't know what's up with the writing.
Well, it seems like audiences are on a similar page because season 4, the first 3 episodes are 3 of the 4 lowest rated in the entire series of all 4 seasons. Very seldom do they get under 8 ratings on IMDb, and all 3 of the episodes in season 4 are under 8.
Wow,
They're all in the 7s. I believe they only have one other episode under 8.0 on IMDb.
And it's, I mean, I think that the more people watch it, those ratings will get lower, unfortunately. I think that I think overall the seasons the show has just been, in this season, just okay. It's just been fine. So, and I'm not alone. I mean, I'm not the only person being critical. This season has 55% audience score on Rotten Tomatoes, which is the first time it's been below 80.
Oh, that's pretty
for
low.
Audience score. And then, like, most of the publications, most of the critics have been pretty mixed reviews of this season so far. So, I'm not the only one being critical. And I know I'm no mean to be negative, but, like, I'm just being honest. And I'm giving my honest opinion. I have not enjoyed much of this season.
Live your truth.
I'm living my truth.
Well, I enjoy every time.
Fuck the ghosts.
I enjoy every time the Deep is on screen.
The Deep is
I loved
great.
when Sage manipulated the Deep into saying, like, you're the superior being.
Yeah.
You shouldn't let Ashley talk to you like that. You are our superhero. And then he finally stood up to Ashley, and he, like, had a very Homelander quality. He's like, I'm the king of Atlantis. I'll fucking murder you.
I'll drown you.
She's like, oh, I'm so sorry. Sir. And the Deep's face is like, oh, my God, that was amazing.
It's great. But I love when at first he's like, can't talk to me like that. She's like, I didn't say anything. He's like, no, I mean earlier.
Chase Crawford's so funny,
He's
man.
great. And also just like his fake responses to Homelander, like, great idea, sir. Like everything he says to Homelander is great. I think he's comedic dynamite, honestly. He's great.
And I think A-Train's going to be a great character this season. He always has been a really good character, but I think, him coming to terms with he's not a real hero. He's never actually saved anybody. All of his heroing and all of his saving has all been fake.
And he's a killer.
It's all been plotted. And yeah, he's a murderer.
Yeah.
But he did not participate in the beating with the bats of the 3 men.
No.
But he did put the bodies there, so he's an accomplice, obviously, and he saw it happen. So he's trying to, I think, turn a good leaf. I see A-Train as someone who's going to sacrifice himself to save the world and to stop Homelander.
I think that's a great point because he's done terrible things and he's murdered in the past. So I think for him to really completely have a retribution in his character arc, he has to die
That's why I thought Maeve was going to die,
Yeah.
because Maeve was like atoning for her sins in a way of sacrificing herself and giving herself up to try to defeat Homelander and try to defeat Soldier Boy. And she ended up surviving, which without her powers, but still, I mean, I think Maeve should have died, but that's not happened. But I think Atron, I feel like his arc is setting himself up to, I have an opportunity to redeem myself.
Yeah.
And I can do that by putting my life on the line. I think that's something that could happen with him in the future.
Yeah, I agree. Absolutely. I think that should happen.
Maybe it will happen.
Yeah.
Maybe it will. All right. You got anything else, bro?
No, that's pretty much all I got to say. And I hope that they can turn things around with the rest of the season. We'll see what they have been cooking up. I'm going to watch it all, but we'll see. We'll see.
And so they dropped all 3 of these episodes at once, right?
Yes.
And then they're going episodic, or are they doing all of the
They're
last
doing,
5?
They're dropping 5 episodes next week.
Next week, 5 episodes.
Or later this week. Yeah. Let me just double check on IMDb right now. I'm pretty sure that was how they planned it out. 3 episodes premiere, and then 5 episodes for the last half of the season. Let me pull it up right now. I got it right. Right her. Season 4.
Nope, they're going to do it weekly.
Weekly? Okay. Okay, cool. Nice. You're right. They are all under 8 on IMDb. Wow.
Which is odd. Very odd.
Well, it's not odd. I think it's just...
No, I mean from the what we're used to with The Boys.
Yeah.
I think with The Boys, the posters are the most exciting part of the season. The posters are excellent.
So the posters look like so much fun, but that's not what we're getting in the show. I completely agree. Like the posters this year, I was like, oh yeah, this is super awesome. But then it was just like, yeah, there's really none of that.
There's a little bit of it.
A little bit of it, but
A little bit.
I don't know.
So every Thursday, episodes will drop.
And then House of Dragon on Sundays. And then The Bear starts up this week.
There's a lot to watch.
What date does The Bear come out?
Pretty soon, I believe.
The Bear will come out. Blah. Hold on one moment. I got it right here. I got it right here. June 27th. June 27th.
I'll probably binge that all in one sitting once they all come out.
Oh, their poster is the Bear restaurant logo now.
Yeah. I saw
I love
on
it.
Sunset Strip last night.
That's great.
Massive billboard. It's blue with the
Oh
bear.
my god, this is such a big show now. Wow. Yeah, good for them. 8.6, great rating.
The Bears, I think, my second favorite show on TV right now.
House of Dragon and The Bear. Those are
I
my
think
top
I
2.
think that's my 2 right there. Good shit.
Good shit, man.
All right, well, that wraps our episode on The Boys, Season 4, the first 3 episodes, which dropped last Thursday.
Hopefully I didn't piss you off too much.
I think Anthony pissed everybody off, but it's still a good show. And I think there's going to be a great turnaround for the second half of the season, and I think they're going to hook you back in, man.
I hope so.
Be sure to become a patron today at patreon.com/Raiders of Lost Podcast. Leave those 5-star ratings and reviews, and take care, everybody.
See you next time.
This episode was executive produced by our chosen one patrons, Cody Moen, Andrew Hagan, Becca Keene, Benjamin Cook, Calvin Murphy-Griggs, Nicholas Martin, Darian Singleton, Tyler McFly, Andrew Hagan. Our chosen one patrons are our biggest supporters. Thank you so much. Raiders of the Lost Podcast is a mirror image production. Sound mixing done by Jacob Kossler. Opening music by Chase Jackson. Thank you for watching Raiders of the Lost Podcast. Be sure to hit that subscribe button, hit the like button as well, notifications for sure. Listen to the show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, everywhere you can listen to podcasts, and be sure to check out this other content we have on our YouTube channel.